A young couple chooses to begin a romantic relationship but agrees to keep it hidden due to being colleagues. In a shadowy alley under the cover of night, a man proposes the idea of a secret relationship to a woman. Elsewhere, in an office, two co-workers discuss the topic of workplace romances. Both women speculate that something is going on between a sales employee and someone in HR, deducing this from the similar souvenirs they brought back from trips and the fact they requested the same day off. An employee, Masubu Tateishi, 28 years old, overhears their conversation but pays it little mind until a woman, Shizuno Hayakawa, 32, approaches and asks him what he thinks about workplace romances. He casually responds that he doesn't have an opinion. The two gossiping employees behind him mention that two new hires were dating until last month. Tateishi tells Shizuno that dating a coworker isn't something he would consider. Another coworker, Aria Morizono, overhears and adds that people involved in workplace romances are often bad employees. The two gossipers get excited, saying that having a secret relationship must be thrilling. Aria, hearing this, assumes it must feel like some sort of game. Tateishi thinks that if that's the case, he has even more reason not to date someone at work. With that, Shizuno ends the conversation and returns to work. Tateishi sighs in relief, thinking they can move on, but then he hears a voice calling him. It's Yui Mitsuya, 28 years old. Tateishi is dazzled by her beauty, but her sweet expression quickly turns sour as she scolds him for rejecting her receipts again. Mitsuya waves the receipt in his face, insisting it's filled out correctly. Tateishi takes it and explains that the deputy manager is strict about these things. Mitsuya accuses Tateishi of being smug because he works in accounting. He rejects her receipt once more, and Mitsuya grabs it angrily, calling him a paper pusher. Their co-workers watch the argument in silence, wondering why the two, who started working at the same time, can't get along better. Later, at Tateishi's apartment, Mitsuya greets him cheerfully and apologizes for being so harsh at work. Tateishi sighs in relief, thinking she might leave him after what happened the day before. Mitsuya explains that she wasn't sure how harshly to act, since they just started a relationship the previous day. Tateishi asks if they're still together, and Mitsuya assures him they are. After all, she's at his place. The two are known for arguing a lot at the office, but it turns out it was because they liked each other. After some time, they finally started a relationship. Tateishi offers Mitsuya a drink and confirms if she really wants to keep their relationship a secret. Mitsuya says she does and asks if he's okay with that. Nervously, Tateishi admits he'd like to talk normally, unlike how they did that day. Mitsuya immediately rejects the idea. Tateishi freezes, imagining how harsh she'll be during work hours. Mitsuya explains that if she doesn't exaggerate, she won't be able to hide her feelings for him. She begins laying out some rules. No eye contact, meeting at least 3 train stations away from work, staying at each other's homes on days off, and no public dates. Tateishi can't say no when looking at his adorable girlfriend, but he asks to go out on days off. Mitsuya firmly says they can't let their guard down. Tateishi wonders why she seems so happy about this arrangement. Remembering his coworker's comments, he suspects Mitsuya sees this as a game to make their relationship more exciting. But he doesn't like that idea. It's not that he wants to be overly affectionate in public, he just wants their relationship to feel more normal every day. He calms down, convincing himself he's overthinking. Mitsuya suggests they can go out in public if they wear masks and apologizes for the many restrictions. She explains she just wants to avoid gossip at work or problems in their relationship. Tateishi understands and also wants to avoid workplace drama. They both agree to try to keep their relationship a secret. Mitsuya admits that now that they're finally together, she wants to protect what they have. Tateishi accepts that all these rules are the price of falling for a coworker. Mitsuya also admits she'd be embarrassed if everyone knew about their relationship. Hearing this, Tateishi pulls her close, joking that her embarrassment is the most exciting part. A few days later, a busy work season begins. In the planning department, someone needs to go to accounting to check on a receipt. Mitsuya tries convincing herself not to volunteer, but it's no use. She offers to go. However, her coworker reminds her she can't, as she always ends up saying something rude in accounting. Her co-workers decide to settle the matter with rock, paper, scissors, while Mitsuya laments that she hasn't seen her boyfriend all week due to their workloads. That night, Tateishi celebrates finishing his tasks and receives a message from Mitsuya saying she left work earlier than him. When he leaves, he texts Mitsuya to ask if he can call, but she's already asleep, so they don't get to talk. The next day, Tateishi runs toward the elevator with his boss. feeling exhausted from all the work. He knows there's still much more to do and wonders if anything will miraculously restore his energy. The elevator doors open a few floors earlier, and Mitsuya enters. She stands next to Tateshi without making eye contact. Earlier that morning, Mitsuya replied to his previous message with an apology for taking so long to respond, explaining that she had fallen asleep. Tateshi sneaks a glance at her and notices her cold expression. Hayakawa thanks Mitsuya for assisting her deputy manager a few days ago and apologizes for delegating the task. Mitsuya asks if everything was handled well, and Hayakawa praises her, saying the work was perfect. Mitsuya thanks her for the compliment, but insists it wasn't anything special. Hayakawa adds that the deputy manager doesn't usually praise people like that, and asks Tateshi if he doesn't think Mitsuya is amazing. Tateshi didn't expect to be dragged into a conversation with her, but without looking at her, he mentions that Mitsuya stands out from the rest. Mitsuya, delighted, asks if he's being sarcastic. Seeing Mitsuya's reaction, he adds that they should have consulted her department directly instead of passing the task along. Hayakawa agrees and tells Mitsuya to feel free to decline if it happens again. Tateshi comments that some people find it difficult to say no. Mitsuya, slightly flustered, replies that it wasn't a big deal. Tateshi thinks they're faking it well, but notices Mitsuya's ears turning red and worries someone might notice. Hayakawa quickly observes that the two get along well, which reassures her, as she thought they didn't get along at all. She asks them to be kind to each other. Mitsuya panics and claims she doesn't remember Tateshi's name. Tateshi provides it while thinking his girlfriend is being far too obvious. There are still several floors left before they reach their destination, and Tateshi feels himself succumbing to Mitsuya's cuteness. He laments that after so long, they've finally encountered each other, but they can't be alone. More people get on the elevator, which calms him down, as it means they won't be forced to interact much. Until Mitsuya speaks to him in a low voice, saying she thought their boss might catch on. Tateshi tries to ignore her, but Mitsuya keeps pushing, so he attempts to tell her she was too obvious. They both continue trying to act natural. At one point, their hands brush briefly. They try to avoid it but can't resist and hold hands for a moment, recharging their energy to keep going. That night, they talk on the phone, happy that the busy season is ending and they can go to the movies the next day. Mitsuya is thrilled to go out with him again, and since the theater is far from the office, she's not worried about being discovered. Mitsuya asks how they'll address each other now, given that they've been dating for a while. She wants him to call her by her first name. Tateshi says he's already used to calling her Mitsuya, but she insists on being called Yui. She says it feels more special and makes it a new rule. The next day, Tateshi is late for their date. When he arrives, he discovers that Yui got a new hairstyle while waiting for him, wanting to look pretty for their first date in a long time. Tateshi tells her she looks beautiful and calls her by her first name, which makes her blush and get embarrassed. Annoyed, she scolds him for calling her that so suddenly. He reminds her it was her idea. Yui accepts it and tries to call Tateshi by his first name, but fails. Tateshi encourages her to try again, but she accuses him of pressuring her into doing something so embarrassing. He reminds her that she made him do it first and insists it's part of the new rule. Yui pleads with him, exhausted, to stop pressuring her. They go into the movie theater, and Tateshi realizes Yui is stronger than he thought. Yui holds his hand, and Tateshi wonders how she can do it without being as embarrassed as he is. After the movie, Tateshi asks where she'd like to have dinner when suddenly someone recognizes Yui, an ex-employee they haven't seen in a long time. It's a handsome man named Seiya who invites Yui out to eat to celebrate their reunion. Then he notices Tateshi. Seiya was the one who trained them at the office and happens to be Yui's former crush. The three of them go to a restaurant together. There, Seiya congratulates Yui on all she's achieved since he left, which Yui gratefully acknowledges, much to Tateshi's dismay. He recalls how everyone in the office used to talk about the chemistry between Yui and Seiya. Seiya explains that he returned for a business trip, but went to the theater out of boredom. Both Yui and Tateshi panic, worrying that he might have seen them before the movie. But Seiya says he arrived late to the showing. Yui nervously lies, denying she saw a movie with Tateshi, who adds that they only ran into each other just before Seiya arrived. Tateshi thinks that if they keep this up, they'll get caught, but begins to wonder if it's really such a bad thing. After dinner, they bid Seiya farewell. He apologizes for imposing on them and playfully winks before leaving. Finally able to relax, Yui thanks Tateshi, calling him by his first name, saying she felt it was the right moment. Tateishi remarks that it took her long enough and teases her for easily addressing Seiya by his first name. Flustered, Yui tries to justify herself, but Tateishi stops her and leans in for a kiss. She stops him, saying they almost got caught earlier, so they decide to save it for when they get home. The next morning, Yui wakes up, recalling all the times she said Tateishi's first name and feeling shy about it. On their way to work, Tateishi wonders if it's suspicious that Yui is wearing the same outfit as the day before. She assures him she has a change of clothes in her locker, so it won't be a problem as long as she changes before anyone notices. They've never seen anyone from work at this train station, so they feel safe. However, they still plan to take separate trains. When Tateishi gets on his train car, he runs into Morizono, who recently moved to this part of the city. Hey, if you made it to this part of the video, don't forget to write the word Exquisito in the comment section. Thank you so much and see you in the next video.